Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to get into something really fascinating, the art of teaching a language. We'll look at how it's completely transformed, from this endless search for one perfect method to something way more flexible and, honestly, way more powerful, a mindset. I mean, we've all been there, right? Stuck in some language class, just repeating phrases over and over and over. Mindless drills. You're sitting there thinking, when am I ever going to actually talk to a real person? It's super frustrating, and let's be honest, kind of boring. So why on earth were classes taught that way? And the big question is, what's different now?
So, for more than 100 years, believe it or not, educators were on this epic quest. They were searching for the holy grail of language teaching. You know, that one single perfect method that would just magically unlock a new language for everyone, every single time. It was this huge search, full of really big theories and maybe even bigger assumptions.
Okay, so this journey kicked off way back with stuff like the grammar translation method. And that was pretty much exactly what it sounds like, just analyzing grammar, translating texts, super dry. Then, fast forward to the middle of the 20th century, and boom, we hit the drill era with something called audiolinguistics. Now that was a huge shift, for sure, but it was really just setting the stage for an even bigger one, the communicative revolution.
So what was the big idea behind all those drills? Well, it was all based on behaviorism. Audiolingualism basically saw language not as a creative skill, but just a set of habits. The theory was pretty simple. If you hear something, a stimulus, and you give the right response, and you do that enough times, you'll eventually form a habit. It was all about repeat, 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 until it's burned into your brain.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the massive flaw which Graham Hall points out so brilliantly. This whole approach was missing the most important piece of the puzzle, the human mind. I mean, come on, learning a language isn't like training a reflex. It's about thinking. It's about being creative, understanding context. And that realization, well, that was the spark that lit the fuse for a total revolution.
And believe me, it really was a revolution. We're not just talking about a new method here. This was a complete top-to-bottom shift in philosophy. It changed absolutely everything about what we thought a language classroom was even for.
Okay, so here's the absolute key takeaway. Communicative language teaching, or CLT as it's known, isn't another rigid method with a bunch of rules. It's a philosophy. It's a whole new way of thinking that says the entire point of language is, well, to communicate. It's for sharing ideas, asking questions, actually doing stuff. It's about meaning, not just memorizing rules.
And this slide just shows the difference so perfectly. Check it out. On one side, you've got the old way. There's no real reason to communicate. The only goal is getting the grammar form exactly right, and the teacher is just jumping in all the time. But then look at the other side, the communicative way. Here, there's a real desire to share something that focuses on the content, what you're actually trying to say, and you have the freedom to try without being corrected every 5 seconds.
And this is the simple but powerful idea that flipped everything upside down. Language isn't just another subject you study, like history or math. No, it's a tool. It's for doing things in the real world. Apologizing to someone, suggesting a plan, persuading a friend. It has a real purpose.
So, okay, if we've given up the search for that one perfect method, then what does a modern language classroom even look like? Well, it looks like a world that's moved beyond the whole idea of a single method.
Welcome to what a lot of experts call the post-method era. The search for that one-size-fits-all answer, it's over. It's done. Instead, today's great teachers have a flexible toolkit. They're not following a rigid instruction manual. They're creating an alternative to method, something that's actually tailored to the real, live students sitting right there in the room.
But what does that actually look like day to day? Well, take something like the boomerang approach. It's brilliant. First, you get students interested. You engage them. Then, and this is key, you just let them try the task. Let them have a go at a role play or a discussion. It might be messy. They're going to make mistakes. But that's the whole point. Because after they try, you study the exact language that they needed or the stuff they struggled with. The learning is driven by a real immediate need.
And all of this leads to a really, really important idea, learner autonomy. The whole goal shifts. It's about empowering students to be in the driver's seat of their own learning. The teacher isn't the gatekeeper of all the knowledge anymore. They're more like a guide, someone who helps students figure out how to learn for themselves.
And this is just so essential because, let's face it, modern classrooms are incredibly diverse. You can't just open a textbook to page 1 and expect it to work for every single person in that room. It just doesn't work that way.
I mean, just look at this. Modern frameworks, like the one you see here, don't define learners by a list of grammar rules they've memorized. Nope, they define them by what they can do. What can you actually accomplish with the language? An A1 beginner, they can introduce themselves. A C1 advanced learner, they can operate fluently in a professional setting. The point is, everyone's on their own unique journey.
And if that wasn't enough, think about everything else a teacher is juggling. Are they teaching 6-year-olds or CEOs? Are their students analytical types who love a good grammar chart? Or are they global learners who need to see the big picture first? What are their motivations? What are their goals? Why are they even here? A great teacher has to think about all of that, all at once.
This is exactly why the best teachers today are what we call eclectic. They're not married to one single method or one dogma. They're like master chefs. They skillfully pick and choose from all the different ingredients in their toolkit, methods, materials, activities, to cook up the perfect learning experience for the actual people they're teaching.
So let's get down to it. When you strip away that old quest for a perfect method, when you look beyond the textbook, what is a teacher's real job today?
Well, their role has totally changed. It's evolved. They're no longer the sage on the stage, just standing up front and delivering information. Now, they're the guide on the side. They're a facilitator, helping learning happen. They're a manager, making sure the classroom works well. And maybe most importantly, they're a rapport builder, someone who creates a space where students feel safe, motivated, and ready to learn.
And this quote from Michael Swan just says it all, doesn't it? New methods can be dangerous. They are good servants, but generally bad masters. I love that. It means all these methods and techniques are fantastic tools. They're great servants, but they can never be the master. The teacher's own judgment, their experience, their connection with the students, that has to come first, always. And that means the real work of being a great teacher, well, it never really stops. It's a deep commitment to what's called continuous professional development. The absolute best teachers are lifelong learners themselves. They're the ones going to conferences, observing other teachers, keeping journals, always reflecting and always trying to get better at their craft.
So you can kind of picture the modern teacher's toolkit like this. It's got all sorts of things in it. Methods, activities, materials, tech, rapport, all of it. And they're all super important. But there's one thing, one single element that sits above everything else, and it's what determines how well any of these other tools actually get used.
And here it is. The most important tool in that whole toolkit isn't a method. It's not a book. It's a mindset. It's the teacher's own mindset. A mindset that is observant, flexible enough to change on a dime, and always learning. That is the real art of teaching a language.
Which brings us to one last big question to leave you with. In our world of instant translation apps, with AI that can translate anything in a heartbeat, what is the true purpose of a human language teacher today? Really makes you think, doesn't it? Thanks so much for joining me.